So this is the second book. The first was Cool Gardens, and you've got 30 new poems in here, which is really cool. What's the process like to put this book together?
Well, initially I just went and picked out poems that I thought would come off great being, spoken, irrespective of what it talked about, irrespective of the themes. With Cool Gardens, I had 90-something poems, so it was a small book with a lot of poetry. And this one I wanted to be more of a coffee table book with Roger's beautiful artwork and that I've enjoyed for years. Roger's done 2 videos for us before, Reconstructive Demonstrations and Honking Antelope, 2 different songs from two solo records. And, he's a phenomenal digital painter and artist. He's worked on all 3 Lord of the Rings and a bunch of, Hollywood films. And so I really wanted to show his artwork. And so the poetry and the artwork became like this one interesting ordeal together. And so with Cool Gardens, I had some artwork from another artist, Sako Shahinian, but I wanted to make this more about combination of the artwork and the poetry.
Yeah, what was it about his art that complements and speaks to you and complements your poetry so well?
I think he's got a lot of different dynamics. He's got a lot of darkness in what he's trying to portray as dark, and a lot of colors and kind of layers that are really, really interesting. And the themes that he picks kind of worked with what I was doing. At first, I wasn't even sure. I just said, hey, you're a great artist. I love what you do. Let's do a book together. That kind of, but yeah, so it worked out. We went through different poems and pictures and saw how things matched. And yeah.
So sometimes the poem came first and sometimes the art came first?
No, they were separated. In other words,
okay.
This is poetry that I had that I decided to use as a book,
right.
And then he started instilling artwork to the poems based on what he had, and he also designed a lot of new stuff to complement the poetry.
I see. And I want to ask you about the cover illustration in particular, because actually when I first got the book, I just looked at it briefly and I thought it was the Statue of Liberty and maybe this like deconstructed skyline of New York or something, but it's not that at all. What is the picture about?
You'd have to ask him, but to me, it gave me the same feeling. When I first looked at it, I actually thought it was the Statue of Liberty as well. And then I realized it's not, but it's that kind of, that period of art. And I don't know, looking at the image as I'm looking at it now is like, it's a very kind of, it's a provocative image, because in the back you've got the city with the sun coming up, and you've got this giant statue with the arms coming out, kind of saying something, and there's like an angel behind him with wings, and it's eerie but very powerful.
It is.
Yeah.
And what was it about the line "glaring through oblivion" from the poem Time that made you want to put that as the title of the book?
It was a line from a poem, and we were going through choices of what to call the book, and it's always like, what do you choose as a title for anything, whether it's a record or a book. And there was something about glaring through oblivion that made it feel current. In other words, our lives, what we're doing right now, is kind of glaring through oblivion. We have nuclear catastrophe in Japan with cesium floating onto our shores in California. We've got earthquake in Christchurch. We've got we've got a lot of things going on in the world, and we're still living our everyday lives, getting up and having our coffee and doing things, assuming that this is going to continue in the same exact fashion. And that's a huge assumption to make.
Yeah.
So, to me, that's a part of glaring through oblivion. And oblivion could be taken in another sense. It could be taken to mean being lost in the moment, maybe even. Oblivion could mean infinity, for all I know. So it really depends on how you want to interpret it.
And we live in such a politically correct era. Is it liberating for you to be able to express your opinions this way?
Absolutely. I agree. I think we do live in, most of the U.S., we live quite a PC society, almost a hypocritical PC society, because, Europeans don't, or Australians or Kiwis don't deal with our insecurities about how we portray ourselves, or all of that stuff. But putting that aside, um, poetry to me is a much freer form of expression than lyrical content in music. Lyrical content in music is a lot more powerful of a delivery vehicle because the music is such an intuitive medium to combine it with. But poetry itself, without the music, is a much freer form of expression. So I do enjoy that.
I was going to say, is that why you enjoy it so much?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you actually answered another question I had about the difference for you between expressing yourself in music versus poetry.
Right. Yeah, yeah. It's quite different. Poetry is also a lot more personal. It's a lot more intimate, I think. Because it's less collaborative. I mean, even if you wrote all the music yourself and played it on the record and put it out there, it's yours and it's intimate enough. I'm sure a song could be very powerful, as we talked about, but poetry is just it gets to the heart of the matter. It's very personal.
And there are some really personal, very raw poems in the book. Is it difficult or a little scary at all to decide to include those?
It was when I decided to put out my first poetry book, Cool Gardens, but I'm over, that was many years ago, so I'm over that feeling. But yeah, you think about it before deciding whether you want to choose a particular poem for the book or whatever. You go, do I really want to put this out there? So you think about it, and if all the right reasons are there, then you go with it. Yeah.
I was wondering, when I was reading the book, because the poems are so thought-provoking and then the art is so powerful, have you ever thought of putting these poems and the artwork and music together in some kind of grander production to further express yourself?
I have. In fact, in the beginning, we were thinking of not just doing it as a book, but also as a multimedia kind of somewhat of a presentation where, I don't know, there would be a green screen and there would be poetry recital going in front of it, and then things floating around and music and all this stuff. And we're still doing some of that with our little promo clips that we're putting up on YouTube for the poetry book. So we're integrating some of those ideas, but we just did not put that whole thing together in the right way. Maybe down the line sometime.
Yeah.
I'm also working on other projects, one of which is a museum project, which will entail certain aspects of lyrical content, visual presentation, music, basically multi-sensory interactive experience.
I was thinking of Pink Floyd kind of being the originator of that type of thing, and then the Gorillaz doing similar things currently. And I think it'd be amazing because the poems with the illustrations kind of take you to this world unto itself. It's amazing.
Cool. Yeah. No, I love the Gorillaz as well. I love the holographic trick imagery that they do. I've looked into that as a viable touring form and a live kind of holographic live experience, performance experience possibility.
Yeah. I want to switch gears just a little bit, but so many of the poems reflect your personal opinions in politics and your worldview, and I'd love to talk to you about your activism. Was there a catalyst for your activism?
Growing up in Los Angeles, in in a country that hasn't formally accepted the Armenian genocide, and being Armenian was an awakening for me. And it made me go, if this is a truth that's out there that's denied for geopolitical gain or political capital, how many other truths are there out there that I need to be aware of? And it created the whole world, my whole world of activism, from environmental to labor to political. And so I think that was the awakening as a young teenager growing up, going, wait a minute, if they're lying to me about this one thing, there must be a lot more in there, and then WikiLeaks comes out, right?
Tell us more about your organization.
My nonprofit organization, I started with Tom Morello from Rage Against the Machine. We started it in 2002. It's called Axis of Justice. Our website is axisofjustice.net. And we've had a radio show on KPFK and Sirius Satellite for many, many years now. We've interviewed a lot of, great, interesting minds, and so it's been a really great way to interact with activists, fans of music, other NGOs and nonprofit organizations. We've worked with Amnesty International, Greenpeace, Food Not Bombs, and all these great nonprofits on a host of different things, from feeding the homeless to tsunami relief to, doing a lot of benefit shows and raising funds for different causes. So it's actually a really, really great endeavor.
What is it about music fans that makes them a great vessel for the message, and they're so willing to help? They're wonderful people.
I don't know if I would generalize in that sense. I don't think all music fans are necessarily open to, the world of activism or the world, but there's something about, but I agree that there's definitely a good portion that react to messages. And I think that one of the important things about music is to be able to hear the truth. If you listen to Bob Dylan songs, it resonates for the 60s. It makes you think of the 60s. And if you read a book and if you read a line that is a truth, it resonates with you. You feel something when you're reading that book. It's the same with music. In fact, it's even more powerful with music because it resonates through your kind of intuitive sense before your logic interprets it, before your left brain takes a crack at it, basically. So I think it's important in that way. So this co-inspiration, being inspired as an artist and then inspiring other people, is this beautiful exchange of energy, and it's really powerful, and it does definitely change people's hearts. It helps them kind of figure out what is truly in their heart, not so much what the artist is saying, and that's really powerful.
I think that's part of what is so beautiful about your poems, because they do make you think about what are your values and what do you hold true and what's in your heart. What do you hope people take away from reading your book?
It's really hard to decipher what someone will what doggy bag of emotions they can take home from any project, whether it's a record or, because everyone approaches stimuli with their own kind of cumulative experience toolkit, and so it's really hard to know. I think different people will take different things away from it. I hope they enjoy it, and I hope it creates positive change.
I think it will. Congratulations on the book, Serj, and thank you so much for talking with us. The book is amazingly inspiring and thought-provoking. Thank you.
Cool. Thank you. Thanks for the interview, and good luck with your show.